The real challenge with the word problem is actually taking the information out of the problem and constructing, your equations or whatever it is you're trying to do on your paper. That's the real challenge. And to be honest with you, that's real life. Real life is not giving you a bunch of one-liner homework problems. Real life is go figure out how to make this airplane fly, or go figure out this engine is running too hot. Go figure out why it's running too hot and fix it. Okay, so what we're going to do in this course is this course is going to be 100% word problems. That's all it is. The actual math behind it, the actual solving the equations, isn't going to be that hard, and I did that on purpose. The challenge is taking the word problems and taking that information out and putting it into problem form so you can solve it. That's what we're going to do today. So the first section is algebra word problems involving numbers. Okay. Basically these problems are going to have one number relating to another number. Sometimes it's age, sometimes it's distance, things like that. And I think word problems, just like anything else in life, the easiest way to learn how to do them is just to see some examples. So let's go and find those examples. The first problem that we're going to do and talk about is on your board here, and it says on your screen right here, and it says 4 times a number increased by 2 is equal to 30. Okay, what is the number? Okay, the number one thing you need to do when you're solving word problems, any kind of problem that has a sentence involved in it is called a word problem, okay, is you have to understand what it's actually asking you, okay? Number one thing people do is you see a word problem and people start trying to write down answers and numbers and equations without actually understanding what the problem is saying and what it's asking you. You have to do that, okay? So don't try to skip ahead. Read this problem 2 or 3 times until you understand what it's actually asking you to do. Then start writing down your equations and your numbers and so on. So let's read it one more time. 4 times a number increased by 2, okay, is equal to 30. What is that number? Okay, so we have a number. That's what we're trying to find. And we multiply it times 4, okay, and then we take that thing and then we add 2 to it, and then the resulting answer should be equal to 30. And what we're trying to do is trying to find that number, okay? So what we're going to do, because we have an unknown here, we have a number, okay? We're going to say that the variable x is equal to the number, okay? The reason I'm doing this is because I really don't know what the number is, okay? That's the whole point. I don't know what the number is, so I'm going to assign a variable to it. And remember, way back to beginning algebra, that's what you're doing here. You don't know what it is, so it's a variable. It's the unknown, so you assign it to be x, okay? So what you want to do is you want to translate this problem into an equation or something you can solve. So 4 times a number increased by 2, okay? Well, if my number is what I'm trying to solve for, then 4 times the number must be 4x. 4 times the number, okay? Increased by 2 means I'm going to add 2 to it. It's got to be equal to 30. Okay, congratulations. You've just translated your first word problem into an equation. 4 times the number increased by 2 is equal to 30. And now all we have to do is solve for our unknown. So to do that, going back to your basic algebra, we'll subtract 2 from both sides. So this 2 will go away. 2 minus 2 is 0. And on the right-hand side, we'll have 30 minus 2. Okay? So all I've done is subtract 2 from the left, gets rid of that 2, and 2 from the right. And I actually haven't done any math yet. So 4x is equal to 28. Okay? And then to solve for x, you divide both sides by 4. So x is going to be equal to 28 divided by 4. So on the left, 4x divided by 4 gives you 1. So that's why you have the 1x there. And 28 divided by 4. So x is going to be equal to 7. Okay? X is going to be equal to 7. Okay, so you see what you did here is you had a word problem that you translated into an equation. 4 times a number plus 2, increased by 2, is equal to 30, and you just used your math to solve that equation, and here's your answer. Now the great thing about word problems, actually the great thing about algebra in general, but especially word problems, is you can always check your work, okay, always. 100%, almost always you can check your work. okay? And you should do that with every problem. And it's really easy to do, because now that you've figured out what the number is, which we said now it's equal to 7, you want to see if that's the right answer. So that's the great thing. When you're taking a test, you'll always know if it's right. So don't pass up the opportunity to figure out if you did the right thing. So now if your number is equal to 7, which is what we said, let's just read the problem one more time. 4 times a number, okay? 4 times a number. See, now we've figured out what this number is, so let's put it in there. 4 times a number increased by 2. This has got to be equal to 30. Well, let's see what it is equal to, okay? 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2. We'll just keep that there because we haven't done anything yet. 28 plus 2 is equal to 30, okay? So we have done the right thing. We know we have done the right thing because we've done our math, we found our number, and then when we apply the logic back to our number that we found, we get exactly what we should get, okay? The second problem is a little bit more complicated, but not too much more complicated. We're just going to build in complexity here. Second problem. The sum of two numbers is 30, okay? And one number is 2 times the other number. What are the two numbers? Or find the two numbers. So again, same thing as before. You have to read the problem, understand the problem, and then start writing stuff down on the paper, okay? The sum of two numbers, now remember the word sum, okay? The word sum is adding two things together, okay? The sum of two numbers is 30, and one number is 2 times the other number. Find the numbers, okay? So let's go ahead and just tackle this one step at a time. Okay, now we have two numbers, okay? We don't have one number, we have two numbers, and you can tell because the problem right there says we have two numbers, so you know this. So we can say that the variable x is equal to number 1, okay? And the variable y is equal to number 2. Okay? Now, in this problem, we know we have to have two numbers because it says right here in the very first sentence, the sum of two numbers is 30. Okay? So you know, and you're trying to find the two numbers, you know you're going to have two variables, and that's what tells you you're going to have two variables right there. So let's go ahead and translate that first sentence. The sum of two numbers, x plus y, that's the sum of these two numbers that we're trying to find, is 30. Okay? So we've already translated that first sentence. And it says, and one number is 2 times the other number. So one number, x, is 2 times the other number. Okay? Find the numbers. That's the last part of the problem there. So we have translated this problem into an equation form. The sum of two numbers is 30, and one number is 2 times the other number. Now notice here we have two equations, two separate equations, and two unknowns, two variables. Now we have enough equations to solve this thing. So how do you think we're going to solve it? Well, what we're going to do is we know what x plus y is 30, and we know what x is equal to. Okay? So we're going to take x and we're going to plug it in here. Okay? So we're going to plug this variable x into this equation. So we'll have 2y plus y is equal to 30. It's very important for you to understand what we did here. We have this equation and we have this equation. Okay? So we're going to take this value for x, which is 2y, and we're going to plug it in here, which is what we've done here. Okay, we're substituting. 2y plus y, just add them together, 3y is equal to 30. And then to solve this equation for y, we just divide both sides by 3. So it's 30 divided by 3. So y is equal to 10. Okay, we're halfway there. We have found one of the problems, which is 10. Okay? Now, how do you think we find the other problem? We have a value for y. How can we find x? Okay? Well, we found this value for y by using both of these equations. We have a nice equation for x. X is equal to 2 times y. So let's use that fact. Okay? And that's going to be a very consistent theme throughout this thing. What you'll do is you'll use two equations to find one variable, and then you'll plug it back in to find the other one. So we'll say x is equal to 2y, which is what we already know. Okay? And then x is equal to 2, and then y is 10, like this. We're just plugging it into y. So x is equal to 20. Okay, now we're done. We've solved it, okay? So let's review what we've done. The sum of two numbers is 30. One number is 2 times the other number, okay? So what we've done is we've taken this second equation, we've plugged it back into the first. 2y plus y is 30. We've solved this by adding these terms and dividing. We got 10. We take this value for y, we plug it back into one of our original equations. 2 times y, x gives you 20. So we should always check our work. That's really easy to do. So let's check our work. The sum of two numbers is 30. That's what the problem says. These two numbers, if these are the right answers, the sum of them equal 30. That's true. 10 plus 20 is 30. Okay?